Welcome. I know lots of you are getting ready for the PMP exam, and what I typically do with my students is ask them a series of questions to find out how prepared they are. Let me ask you a few questions and find out if you are actually in shipshape. Question number one. You are a project manager working on the project. You have just created a project charter. Name a couple of documents that you should have created before the project charter or received from the project sponsor before the project charter. Hit the pause button if you need more time. Now, the answer that I expect from you, a couple of things: business case and benefits management plan. I expect that you should have received these two things from the project sponsor or maybe even been part of it. Next question. You're a project manager working on a project. You are in the process of identifying stakeholders. What should you have received within the confines of the project prior to working on a stakeholder register? The answer I'm expecting from you is the project charter, because the project charter contains the stakeholder list, and the stakeholder list is used to create the stakeholder register. Next question. You're working on the project when your sponsor tells you that there's a lot of work coming down the pike. You know that there's work coming, but you don't have all the details just yet. Which package should you use to plan this work? The answer I'm expecting you to say is planning package. A planning package has known work content which will be decomposed at the right time, but for now, it's okay to use a planning package. Next question. Planning packages, work packages, all roll up into a WBS component known as what? The answer I'm expecting from you is a control account. The control account is where all the work rolls up into, and all the control accounts ultimately roll up to the project level. You're working as a project manager on a project, and you have just completed sequencing your activities. Name a couple of things you should have done before getting to the sequencing of activities within schedule management. So the first thing you should have done is you should have created a schedule management plan. The second thing you should have done is you should have defined the activities. Next question. You're a project manager on a project and you are managing the budget. You are now looking at earned value metrics. The earned value metrics give you the following numbers. CPI equals 0.5. SPI equals 0.5. What does this mean in dollars? Explain it any way you can. So what this means is, in terms of cost, you're only 50% efficient cost-wise. You're spending $1, but you're only getting 50 cents value out of it. In terms of the schedule performance being a 0.5, it means you're only half efficient. 0.5, 50% efficient schedule-wise. You're planning to get a bulk of work done, but you're only getting 50% of that work, which means you're operating at 50% of your schedule efficiency, which isn't very good. Next question. You're a project manager working on a project. Your sponsor tells you prevention is better than cure. Taking a look at quality management, understanding prevention and cure, which two processes would you liken to prevention and cure among the processes of quality management? Let me make it clearer. Prevention, cure. Which one out of the three would you say is prevention, and which one out of the three would you say is cure? Planning quality management, managing quality, and controlling quality. Well, that was a trick question. If you said cure is quality control or control quality, you are correct. And if you said prevention was planning, you're partially correct. But the better answer I was expecting is managed quality, because managed quality is quality assurance. right? Quality assurance is ensuring that you are checking the process before the product is produced. There's a difference between checking the process, quality assurance, which is managed quality, versus quality control, which is the cure. Prevention is better than cure. Next question. You are in the world of risk management as a project manager. You are currently deciding the probability and the impact of risks. Which process are you currently working on? Now, this one, you should know your processes in risk. So the answer I would be expecting from you is perform qualitative risk analysis. This is where you get the probability and the impact. Probability could be a scale, it could be a 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, impact a 1 to 5, 1 to 10. Next question. You're a project manager on a project working as a risk manager, and you are currently finding out what the impact in dollars will be for a risk. Which process is right? I'm guessing you'll get this one right, got the other one right, or even wrong. The answer is perform quantitative risk analysis. Next question. You're working as a project manager in a project, and your stakeholder has a high level of power, a high level of interest. What strategy should you adopt for that stakeholder with a high level of power, high level of interest? The answer I'm expecting from you is manage close. Now let's just go with some very direct process questions. Okay? Name the 7 processes of risk management. Or tell me the 7 things you do in risk management. Do you need me to come to your rescue? Number 1, you plan risk management. Number 2, you identify risks. Number 3, you perform qualitative risk analysis. Number 4, you perform quantitative risk analysis. Number 5, you plan risk responses. Number 6, you implement risk response. And number 7, monitor risk. Very helpful to know that. Next question. You are a Scrum Master on a project. A team member comes to you and asks you to change a feature. What should you do? All right, so I expect you to say, as a Scrum Master, you don't have the power to decide on changing features. That is the role of the product owner. So you would ask that individual to speak to the product owner. Who is responsible for logging and managing impediments in the world of Scrum or Agile in general? The answer would be Scrum Master. In the world of Scrum, we have 3 artifacts. What are the 3 artifacts in the world of Scrum? Okay, I'm expecting you to say product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment. This is the end of part 1. We'll take a little break here, and then we'll continue. Welcome back. More questions in the world of project management. I often tell my students, yes, you don't have to cram, but you do need to understand the full gamut of what could happen in project management. So now I'm going to ask you a few questions that go directly into what we understand the process landscape to be. Let's talk about schedule management. Name the 6 things the project manager does in schedule management. You could call them processes. Number 1, plan schedule management. Number 2, define activities. Number 3, sequence activities. Number 4, estimate activity durations. Number 5, put it all together, develop the schedule. Number 6, control the schedule. So you see, I'm trying to make it as real-world language as possible, but I corrected myself because you don't typically say manage the schedule, even though that's what we do. But the PMI says it's control the schedule. And the reason why is because you're doing 2 things. Yes, you are in a way monitoring it, but you're also driving it in the direction you want. Let's talk about the next one because we have the triple constraint in project management. So your next question is, what is the triple constraint? A triple constraint in project management are three variables that do need to be in equilibrium at all times. If one variable moves, the other variables will likely move in accordance under most circumstances. You as the project manager, you need to make sure you're keeping your eye on the triple constraint. So schedule, cost, and scope. Some people will say time, cost, and scope, or time, budget, and scope. But schedule, cost, and scope. So let's jump into the world of scope. Name the 6 things the project manager does in the world of scope management. Number 1, plan scope management. Number 2, collect requirements. Number 3, define scope. Number 4, create WBS. Number 5, validate scope. And number 6, control scope. It almost threw me for a loop. But you always need to ask, okay, what do I do before I collect the requirements? I create plan scope management. And in that, I also get a requirements management plan, not just a scope management plan. So you need to really think about what you're doing and try to picture what you're generating from each process. Let's go into the world of costs. So we've talked about schedule, we've done scope. What about cost? Tell me the 4 things the project manager does process-wise in cost management. Plan how to manage costs, plan cost management. Number 2, you estimate the costs. Number 3, you determine the budget. And number 4, you control the cost. Monitoring, you're managing, you check in, you're taking action. We just call it control cost. Hey, you've done quite well. Now, let's talk about the next knowledge area, which is quality management. There are 3 things that you do in quality management. You know what they are? Okay, number 1, you plan quality management. Number 2, you manage quality. And number 3, you control quality. So planning quality management means developing a quality management plan. Managing quality means quality assurance, checking the process. Control quality means checking the product and taking necessary action to find out why is this not fit for use. And when you find out why it's not fit for use, you raise a change request, it goes through the change control board, it goes to direct and manage project work for execution, you redo, and then it comes down the pike again. And hopefully this time you would have done good QA and you would be doing QC to check that those corrections are indeed inherent. So everything in project management is a flow, Starts off with a project charter, then it translates into identifying stakeholders, developing a project management plan, which is many, many subsidiary plans, and then you're executing that plan. You're checking the work as you're executing the plan, and there are various documents along the way, but ultimately you get to a final transition. Get your product, service, or result, your deliverable. It gets checked by your customer in validate scope, and then it goes into transition once accepted. So we've talked about schedule, scope, cost, quality. Let's talk about resources. What are the 6 things that happen in resource management? Number 1, you plan resource management. Number 2, you estimate activity resources. Number 3, you acquire the resources. And we're talking about human, equipment, material, supplies, and facilities. Number 4, what do you do in number 4? You tell me. Okay, so you acquire the resources and then you develop the team. And after you develop the team, number 4, you then move on to manage the team. Number 5, which is giving them feedback. Could involve mentoring and coaching and getting them to their optimum, giving them feedback as a group, giving them feedback in individuals. And number 6 is control resources, but it's not the human, it's the physical resources we control. So plan resource management, estimate activity resources, acquire resources, develop team, manage team, and control resources. So I hope all this is making sense. Let's talk about communications management. What are the three things you do in communications management? Number one, usual plan communication. Number two, you manage communication. Manage communications is sending the communications out. It is ensuring that the communications are customized as needed. And then monitor communications is ensuring that your communication plan, your communication approach is indeed working. You've done really well. We're moving now from communications, jump in risk, because we already did risk, and now we're going into procurement. What are the three things that the PMI tells you that you do in procurement management? You can just say it in layman's terms if you remember. One, you got it. Plan procurement management. The two, conduct procurements, right? Conducting procurements means you are sending out RFPs, RFQs, RFIs, you're advertising, you're receiving questions back, you might have a bidder conference, and you're ultimately going to select a seller or sellers and award a contract. And the third thing you do in procurement is control procurement. And this is where you are managing the contract, but we don't call it management. You're doing the managing of the contract, you're doing the monitoring of the contract from a buyer perspective. You see, it's flipped. You're not the seller, you're the buyer. And that's what makes procurement a little bit tricky. Let's move on to the final one in the stream of the nine before the final wrap up. So we're going into stakeholder management. Can you name the four things that happen in stakeholder management for project manager? Already talked about one. You identify the stakeholders first. You plan stakeholder engagement. You develop a stakeholder engagement plan. And then you manage the stakeholder engagement by communicating with the stakeholder, addressing their needs, doing all that good stuff. And then you monitor stakeholder engagement to ensure that the stakeholder is truly as engaged. So far, we've talked about scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, communications, risk, procurement, and stakeholder. Which one are we missing? Do you know? We're missing integration. And integration is where everything is wrapped up. So in integration, there are 7 things, and we've already kind of talked about one. It's developing the project charter. That's number 1. So before you develop the project charter, you should understand why the project is in existence. There should have been a needs assessment. Then you create a business case. You understand the options for fulfilling the project need. Whatever the project goal is, you try to move from point A to point B, or maybe there's a series of possibilities. Option A, option B, C. You want to put that in your business case. You want to make a case for the project and a case for the solution so that management understands why you're thinking of pivoting to a solution, particular vendor. So that has to be very evident in your business case, and we could have a benefits management plan or benefits register. PMI is big on this. They talk about it a lot because when you're managing a project, it's very easy to throw a solution over the fence. No one knows if the benefits realized. So there should be a benefits register. So 2 things before your project charter: benefits management plan or benefits register, and your business case. And there could be a needs assessment much earlier on before the business. You want to assess the need and make sure, is there really a need here? Is there a solution somewhere else that's already fulfilling that in the company? So you develop the project charter, you develop the project management plan, you direct and manage the project work, you manage project knowledge, which is lessons learned, tacit knowledge, explicit knowledge, the collation of all that knowledge, documenting that knowledge, or having forums where you can share the tacit knowledge. Those things are very important. So develop project charter, develop project management plan, direct and manage the project work, carry out the work, manage project knowledge, and then monitor and control project work is 6. Number 5, perform integrated change control is number 6. So what is the difference between monitor and control project work and perform integrated change control? Do you know? Can you answer that? I would expect that from you. monitoring and controlling the project work versus performing integrated change. There's a difference. Monitor and control project work means you are assembling all of the information that you have received across all the knowledge areas, and you're putting them into a relevant work performance report. Your work performance report tells your stakeholders, your team members, what the state of the project is. So you have to do an analysis of data to generate work performance information in all of the monitoring and controlling process. But then you have to collate all of that information, separate it, what is relevant to this stakeholder, what is relevant to that stakeholder, and you create a work performance report, which could be customized depending on the stakeholder. So monitor and control project work is centered on monitoring and controlling the entire project as a whole to understand the state. And that is reported in your work performance report. Now, in Perform Integrated Change Control, this is where you have incoming change requests. You analyze a change request, you try to understand, this change really needed, what is the impact of this change going to be? You send it up to the change control board, they do their analysis, take a look at the information you've provided, they may go back and forth with the stakeholders, the customer, to better understand, is this really needed? If it is needed, then it could be further bargained price-wise, or it could be authorized if it's already on a contract. But one thing you don't want to do as a project manager is allow scope creep and gold plating. Because if you do that, it means that you have commodities or features that are just being given for free, and you're not running a charity. So that is very wrong, both in terms of project management in general and also the poor company. They're just hemorrhaging money because they're giving away stuff for free, and that's not how business is run. So we're very much against gold plating and scope creep in the world of the PMI. Some people say, well, you should always give the customer more than they ask for. No, give the customer what they ask for. In the world of the PMI, give the customer exactly what they asked for. Gold plating not allowed. Okay? So in this whole change request thing, you should pass through integrated change control. And the final process of integration is close project or phase. It's closing out the entire project or phasing the project. So far, we've talked about the 7 things in integration: develop project charter, develop the project management plan, direct and manage project work, manage project knowledge, monitor and control project work, perform integrated change control, and close project. 7 things. Close project or phase is the transition of that final product, service, or result to the customer. Remember, the customer has already accepted it, scope management, invalid scope. But in closing out the project or phase, there's a formal transition. My clients, they build barges and ships out in Louisiana, and when they get to the end of that project, the whole transition is a big old show. And I mean that in a good way. It's a big old dog and pony show, but not in a bad way. The fanfare of getting that ship done, the fanfare of completing the project, whether it was for government entity or an individual, is a big deal. So they have a ribbon cutting and all that. Now, not every project is like that. Some projects is just transitioning the software to the operations department, and others, it might just be delivering a final assembly. Maybe it's assembling various tools or systems or components. It really depends. But in the world of the PMI, we do want you to know you could have a final report. There should be a final transition. And if there's any organizational process assets that need to be archived, we talk about a lessons learned repository. We talk about organizational process assets updates. So over the past number of minutes, I've just been quizzing you to see, are you able to jive with all this PM talk, or did you get lost? If there's any gray areas or gaps that you need to close, I advise you to do that. But here's my final piece of advice. If your exam is coming up quick, not only do you need to know all of these traditional bits and pieces, you also need to understand the Agile piece, the Agile Manifesto. You need to get into the Agile Mindset. You need to understand what your highest priority is as an Agile project manager. And your highest priority, it should be to satisfy the customer with early and continuous delivery of valuable products. You also need to understand that as an Agile project manager, You value humans, individuals, and interactions over processes and tools. We're not saying processes and tools are bad, but when you get those questions on the exam, you need to have the mindset, I value discussions more than manuals. I value working products than manuals and comprehensive documentation, right? Because you can have all the documents, but if you don't get to a done state, you're never going to get done on that project. So we value individuals and interactions, processes and tools, working product over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and responding to change over following a plan. Think about it. If your mindset is aligned when you're having a crucial negotiation, yeah, you're already in that collaboration state. So everything follows that collaboration mindset. Responding to change over following a plan, having the mindedness, the readiness to respond is more valuable than having a plan and dogmatically following the plan. When the plan needs to change, you're not changing. That's no good. So we need to have that agile mindedness. We need to have the agile mindedness of understanding face-to-face conversation is good. It's preferred. There's a reason for turning on your camera. Body language is important. Communication for the PM is 90% of what the PM does. So it's very important. Understanding that in the world of Agile, we translate everything we're thinking about into language. We don't just harbor it, but we talk about transparency. Transparency is huge. You don't just keep things bottled up. We talk about making a safe space in the world of Agile. So when you get those questions that are testing you on, do you know about safe space? Do you know about transparency? You have to be all up in that. And then beyond that, the roles of the product owner, understanding that role, understanding the role of the Scrum Master, and understanding a stable, well-organized, self-managed, self-organized team that is valued heavily in the world of Agile. And then going to Scrum, just the 3-5-3, right? 3 roles, which we've talked about, the 5 events. So we have sprint planning, which is at the very beginning. We have the sprint itself, which is a container for everything else. We have the daily scrum, which is not a status meeting. Instead, it is more like a planning meeting. We have the sprint review, where the team is showing what has been done, but at the same time making it a working meeting so they can get feedback from the customer and stakeholders, also very important. And also the sprint retrospective, which is the last thing you do in the entire iteration of sprint, is also very important for you to. And just understanding the whole Agile Vegas concept, that in our retrospective, we are brutally honest. We don't have strangers or visitors, except we invited them, but it's not the meeting for your management team to sit in on and scrutinize. So all that stuff is extremely important for your exam. And there's one more piece I'll share with you, which is how to answer questions on the exam. So let's talk about how to answer questions. Finally, 5 things, or I should say 6 things. I call it dig sieve. Always define the problem when you find a question. Identify the root cause of the problem. Generate alternatives. Choose the best alternative. Implement the alternative, and verify that it's correct mentally. Go through it mentally. I would advise, if you're looking for a great book on problem solving, go to digsieve.com. This will help your real world problem solving, but also look for my videos here on YouTube on Digsieve. I hope this time with you has given you some alignment. If you're looking for a solution that can help you to plan your study time, just Google Praizion 40 days. You find a lot of material I have for free out there on the web. I also have a podcast, a couple of podcasts actually, 40 Days to PMP Exam Success and a PMP Exam Radio Show. Thanks for joining me today, my friend. I wish you all the best on your PMP exam, CAPM exam, whatever you're working on. You take care. Bye for now.